So to start off with, let's review the severe threat for today. It's uptrended quite a bit in different aspects here. An overall 30% enhanced risk here for most of Arkansas, most of Mississippi here, out toward Dallas, Texas, up towards southern Missouri again today. We're having severe storms going on right now. You see the radar here. Some severe weather, maybe some sub-severe storms out here in Texas, but you see where the most activity is this morning. Let me know how you like this map. I changed up the map a little bit today. It's not quite as dark. We have a larger, looks like almost a square risk here, a slight risk, right? Going all the way up in Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, towards Springfield, Missouri. Remember we had severe weather there just yesterday, right? Just moving out of the area. Parts of Alabama into northwest Georgia also here. And I'll be keeping an eye on, especially on northwest Georgia and surrounding areas for any changes in the threat today. Let me know where you live in Georgia. I'll be happy to let you know what I think about the weather next couple of days. And back into Texas, we have this marginal risk. So quite a large risk area today again. But thankfully, the threat will diminish as we go towards the end of the week or towards the middle of the week here. Moving into tomorrow, we have an overall marginal threat along the Gulf Coast and along the southeast coast, North Carolina, Virginia, up towards parts of Pennsylvania tomorrow, right? And going on day 3, no more severe weather. But this could change a little bit. They may have some marginal outlooks later in the as we get towards next couple days, but overall the severe threat is a lot lower here, less than 5%. So going back to today, let's focus on the tornado risk for today. A pretty large tornado risk, although the highest risk is 5% here. But any tornadoes that can spin up can be EF2 or higher in this stippled region here. So the overall coverage is not expected to be that great, but if one does spin up in this environment, we could be strong. Okay, and just outside of that 5% to the 2% risk, the stippled region is still there, so less coverage. Percentage means just coverage, right? So in this dash line represents intensity, right? Conditional intensity. So you go into the marginal risk here. Still potential for relatively weak tornadoes. That doesn't preclude it happening somewhere else, but this is the general thought right now. Moving for the wind risk. Got a pretty extensive wind risk as well. With this is what's driving this, and the hail risk is what's driving the 30% risk. But you see a larger 30% risk of severe winds is. On the back side is 30% area. We have this hatch stippled region, 30%, right, which indicates SIG 1 intensity, which is 75 mile per hour, which is hurricane force get wind gusts possible today. Getting tongue-tied here. And back in the slate area here into parts of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. So likely due to some steeper mid-level lapse rates out to the west here and more destabilization and wind shear in the atmosphere. But anywhere outside of this, you could have 50 knot winds or so, which is roughly 60 mile per hour wind gusts with a higher probabilities in the 30% and 15% range. So like I said, doesn't preclude it happening somewhere else, but these are the probabilities. And forecasting relies on probabilities, guys. So, this isn't an exact science, so let's keep that in mind when we call out forecasters or National Weather Service or Storm Prediction Center for bus forecasts, things like that. It's impossible to predict the weather with 100% accuracy. I don't care who you are, even if you're a machine, right? So now hail. This is quite impressive here. On the southern edge of this 30% risk, we have a SIG-2 hatching now. The lines here, this is an upgrade from last time I looked at this. SIG-2 means 3.5 inch in diameter hail is possible in the southern area of the 30% risk. Kind of hanging out here right into the 15% risk. So 30% risk of hail exceeding 3.5 inches diameter within 25 miles of a given location, and a larger area here encompassing the slight and 5% risk all the way down into southern Texas here, which means maybe 2-inch hail diameter or greater. And anywhere outside of this hatched area, you could have 1-inch hail. And this extends into parts of Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, northwest Georgia here. So as far as tornado risk for tomorrow, there's a marginal risk of relatively weak tornadoes in the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, and parts of the southeast core of the severe threat tomorrow. And then moving into the wind risk, we have the wind risk encompasses the whole marginal area here, Virginia, North Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, parts of Tennessee and Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and along the Gulf Coast. And the hail risk is on the southern mode of this. 5% hail risk along the Gulf Coast back to Texas here, parts of Alabama, cuts off right here in western Georgia. We'll see if they change this outlook today at all. We'll keep monitoring this and let y'all know how this evolves today. So this is a new tool that I am starting to use here for probabilities of severe weather, different types, right? StormNet algorithm uses AI to kind of determine the probabilities here. I won't take this to the bank, but I want to show you what it thinks is sort of tornado risk today. The possibility exists, although low, for tornadoes here, parts of northern Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas this morning. That kind of moves out, and then go back towards Wichita Falls. There's a really low chance of some tornadoes here, and this is event tornado of any strength. It doesn't tell you what strength here, so I'm still evaluating this tool. Just want to show you what it shows here. Tornado risk moves to the north and east, which is interesting. This is 10 a.m., 11 a.m., although quite low, 10, 20%. You can see how it expands here as we go into on the 2 p.m. of parts of the Texarkana area, Little Rock, Dallas, Shreveport, Louisiana. And then we get some higher probabilities, bordering on 20% here, Little Rock, Arkansas, Hot Springs, all right, and surrounding areas, less probabilities. This is 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. Splits off, and maybe we have a couple different lines here into parts of Mississippi, right, towards Jackson, Greenwood, Grenada, Greenville, Cleveland, up till Memphis, Tennessee, and another area back here in Arkansas here. All right, we move back a little bit further out. Tornado threat remains back here in Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Hot Springs, 8 to 9 p.m. today. Another tornado threat, 10, 20% here in the parts of still Mississippi, moving towards Meridian here. And maybe one developing here in parts of Texas. And then as we get into the overnight hours, that threat dissipates. So that's what this modeled threat indicates for tornado risk as of right now. You see right now there's storms ongoing here, right, up in Tennessee, Memphis. If you put the radar and risk on here, you can see that it has a radar sites. It's a pretty cool tool here, showing the potential wind risk of storms greater than 58 miles per hour. All right, this is roughly about now. The risk is pretty high for some high winds here, 50 to 70% in these different areas and back into Texas, although less likely. You can see into Alabama and Birmingham and Columbus may have some low probabilities here. But we get back into Texas, right, and Oklahoma, the wind risk picks up this morning with some storms maybe firing back here. This doesn't show future radar this far out, so it doesn't go that far out. See what I mean here? So it just shows probabilities here just for a short period. Let's go back to the risk and go back to where we're at here. You see this increases in the morning. We talked about this. You can see the wind risk is quite high here in this area. Some bullseyes here. Just a lot of Arkansas is expected to get some high winds here. And maybe sorry for the beeping, it's my radar going off here. Pretty high probabilities, a lot higher than the tornado probabilities. And you can see here, at least right now, what it's modeling. Mississippi has the greatest potential for severe winds today between 5 and 6 p.m. This isn't exactly how it's going to happen. This is how it's modeled. Moves to the south and east. Maybe this looks like an MCS type feature, and I'll go over the future radar here in a minute so we can review this. Maybe some severe winds up into Nashville as well, although probabilities are less, and back towards Louisiana. That line looks to move to the south and east and dissipate in the central Georgia, but you see there's still some probabilities here. Also along the Gulf Coast in Louisiana, Texas, but the probabilities are quite low overnight. All right, so this is likely a decaying MCS, which is a mesoscale convective system. And like I said, I'll review the future radar in a minute. And these are future modeled hail risk. You see we have some ongoing hail and some severe thunderstorms. The future modeled hail risk is highest right now. This is within the next hour or so. Arkansas, Tennessee here, northern Mississippi, highest probabilities of these storms moving to the south and east. Has some severe hail going back here into Texas. All right, already these storms that were forming out here likely ramp up some hail. Not likely, but 25-50% chance. All right, the highest probabilities out in Texas here. Atlanta area, low probabilities. Northern Mississippi, the hail threat really ramps up. We showed that on the wind risk as well as we go through the day today. Looks like a short wave will be moving through this area, maybe a weak surface trough or low. Goes through Oklahoma, parts of Arkansas. Okay, a really low risk here in the deep south. We have some splitting storms here, maybe some storms splitting off to the north with hail between 5 and 6 p.m. And a reminder, this is greater than 1 inch hail. It doesn't forecast hail size. So you have distinct areas here of focus that are modeled by this. 9 p.m. The hail risk generally dissipates for the most part, with the exception of along the Gulf Coast and back into Texas, with some really small potential up here, lingering up here in Missouri and Arkansas and central Georgia, although the probabilities are very low, less than 10%. So, but back into Texas, we have the highest risk here. And the hail risk is maybe maintained here in Texas as we get into tomorrow. So there's a general depiction from the HREF. I think this is the best way to present this, right? HREF is the high resolution ensemble viewer. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ensembles here, convecting available models, and it averages and shows the different models as far as a future radar here. So I'm going to put the NAM on here, starting about 8 a.m. UTC, with about roughly now. It doesn't depict it that great. The storm's a little further east than this is showing. Anyway, let's go back here. HRR, 8 a.m. Storms firing. This line of storms generally moves to the south and east through our area and encompasses a lot of Georgia here, at least according to the HRR. All the models agree with less from the ARW model on the coverage here. All right. So I tend to side with HRR with this stuff. It seems like it's the most reliable. So we'll see how the coverage does today. But it would be nice if we got some rainfall here in north and central Georgia today. So storms firing on the backside here. That's the latest radar depiction. Now I'm going to switch to the southern area here so we can focus on this. Well, because it encompasses a large area here, I'm going to have to do this different parts here. So to start off with 0800 today, this is overlaid with today's outlook still. Storms move to the south and east. Maybe some storms form on the backside of this here. Line of storms kind of wanting to develop here. We'll see the HRR. I'm going to keep it on HRR here. Going through the north and east. Maybe a line of storms forming in the afternoon hours or around noontime. Moving to the east here. Looks like an MCS or MCV moving through the highest threat area as we get into the overnight hours, with some rotating storms on the southern edge of this, which could be supercellular here. See on the backside how these get going, right? So what's driving these features? Let's take a look at 500 millibars. The mid-level flow here. Don't have a lot of evidence of anything at the mid-levels, although see the 500 millibar jet and surface trough is further to the north. Dang it. Let's go off here. The better troughing is up to the north and east here. I'll show this on the map. I have like some short waves maybe moving through the flow. So it's better to expand this out when we're doing this so y'all can see from way up high here. So see what you get when we get into the overnight hours. It's 700 millibars. Maybe it depicts, say, the trough swinging through here, right? The main 700 millibar trough is up here. The base of the trough maybe shifting through here with different perturbations in the flow. But you see the enhancement here and generally here as well. And it looks like you have a short wave moving through here as well. Different perturbations here. I know I keep saying perturbations, but that's the best way I can put it. And it looks like you have another surface mid-level feature hanging off the west coast here. This is roughly 5 hours behind UTC in Central Time, so we're like 7 p.m. or so, right? So moving through time with this. See this trough swings further to the east here, right? So now you have the enhanced flow generally from west to east here. So it's driving whatever systems we have this way, okay? Now if we look at a little bit lower, close to the surface. All right, so we start this off. See the low-level jet overnight, which happens quite a bit, gets going here, probably likely due to a surface feature forming or a trough here. You see 850 millibars closer to the surface. You have this, what looks like maybe surface feature here, or 850 millibar low anyway. Look at the surface here in a second. Man, this is a lot of detail. I'm sorry, guys, but you see your main 850 millibar low is way up here. Looks like a surface trough in this area, right? But an enhanced flow this way. Bring in some pretty stout low-level winds here, which will help with the tornado threat. All right. So now let's look at the dew point surface features here. See, as we get into the surface dew points in the southern edge of this, where they're highest. You get your main surface low up here into Canada, right? And maybe a nebulous surface feature developing here. Okay, it's a lot of not a lot going on, right? But you see the dew point temperatures are surging to the north here in the 70s. Looks like maybe not really a warm front. Your warm front will be more up here. This is bounded between the the steepest moisture values. Um, you know, maybe a moisture gradient here. And look up here, the dew points. This is roughly about 10 a.m. or so Central Time. Let's see if this gets cut off or not. See the dew points surge all the way up into here as we get through the day today, 50s and 60s. With this surface troughing, I don't know if you consider this a trough or not yet, but let's go through a little bit further here. And right, so I don't know, there's a high pressure building down to the north here. I don't see, and you just kind of got this, maybe this forcing going this way, right? Maybe a surface feature developing down here, or the dry line pushing to the east, right? So we go with the overnight hours. This is, the surface high developing to the west here with cold front moving through here. Maybe a surface low developing as we get into tomorrow. And the dew points surge up. And then you have a boundary here setting up somewhere in this area and up to here, which shows our area of severe threat the next day. See if I can show this here. If it'll come on here. Doesn't show it. There we go. You see where our severe threat is for tomorrow. See the surface low developing up here. That's likely why we're going to be in the severe threat up here, some additional and tornado risk because of the surface low here. If we can get a surface low developed down here somewhere, this could change the tornado parameters down here as well. So, quite a long video today. I hope this gives you enough detail and can help you plan your day today. Today is likely the last day of really significant severe weather. Flooding concerns are definitely on the books in the coming days as well, especially for the deep south, which would be nice. But unfortunately, I'm a little bit upset because Central Georgia doesn't look to be getting the brunt of it. But hey, we'll take anything we can get here. Y'all be safe out there. Please share this with your friends and leave any comments or questions you have in the comments below. One last thing I want to say is I appreciate everything that y'all have done to help me with my channel. But also I want to say that, I take this very seriously. And I want to mention that this is a forecast, guys. I do my best to explain it in the best way I know how. But none of this is a certainty. Let's be mindful of these people and forecasters and people like myself who are just trying to help and give you the best information possible. God bless y'all. Have a great day. Take care.